Before I start telling the story, let me introduce myself. My name is Dexter, and I am currently playing football for the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Growing up, I was a huge fan of pro wrestling, and I was always begging my parents to let me stay up late and watch Monday Night Raw. Yes, I know wrestling is mostly fake, but I never really cared. I just wanted to see my favorite wrestler, Kane, chokeslam everyone from Stone Cold to Meat. Recently, with classes and football games, I've had trouble keeping up with both Raw and SmackDown. The other thing was that I only had a low to moderate amount of money, so I can only watch 2 or 3 pay-per-views per year. I usually stick to watching my old WWF DVDs when I can, except for one. Last May, I was walking around the campus when I passed by a pro wrestling store. I had passed by that same lot a few days ago, and it was unoccupied and still had the "For Rent" sign. Those must be some efficient workers, I thought to myself. Shrugging, I walked inside. As soon as I walked in, a blast of air conditioning welcomed me. Thank God, too. South Carolina isn't exactly the coolest place in the country. Scanning the shelves, I spotted action figures, signed merch, and DVDs. I hopped over to the DVD shelf and went through its contents. A couple WrestleManias, a Jeff Hardy one, and a complete In Your House box set. If you're not a wrestling fan, In Your House was a pay-per-view series that was held in the months the WWF didn't have a major pay-per-view. Being from Memphis, I was able to go to the St. Valentine's Day Massacre event when I was 8. And it wasn't even nosebleed seats. I was 4 rows from the ring. I snatched the box set, an Eddie Guerrero figure, and a Monster Energy from the vending machine, and put my loot on the counter. I expected the In Your House collection to be worth a fortune, but nope, it was only $25. I didn't really think much of it, and I rode my skateboard back to my dorm. When I got home, I popped the CD into my PlayStation 3. The menu came up, which was the In Your House logo and a collection of shots from the events. There were 4 options: select event, random event, options, and extras. I checked out the options menu. It was nothing special, just languages, subtitles, display, and all of that junk. I don't remember much from the extras menu. I saw a promo for WrestleMania 2000 though. By the way, the DVD was apparently released in the summer of 1999. I decided to get this show on the road and went to select event. It took me to a list of In Your House pay-per-views, all 28 of them. I scrolled through, and sure enough, everything from the first In Your House to Backlash was there. A part of my mind wanted me to go further for some reason, to see if there were any more options. There were. Right there on the screen was 29. Armageddon In Your House, clear as day. The title itself didn't really strike me as odd. There were In Your House events that later became yearly pay-per-views, like Unforgiven. The first Armageddon was held in December 1999. But still, 29? As far as my extensive knowledge went, there were only 28 In Your House shows. I decided to select it. I was brought to another screen. The description said Armageddon took place on June 6th, 1999 in Charleston, South Carolina. I selected the match select option. There were only 2 matches. The first was a 20-man over-the-top rope battle royal, and the second was Kane versus Mankind in an Inferno match. Saving the best for last, I chose the battle royal. Billy Gunn won, if you're one of the few who cares. After that, I selected Kane vs. Mankind. Both of the wrestlers made their entrances, though I think Kane's music was a bit different, a lower pitch, maybe. When both were in the ring, the fire around the canvas was lit, and the match was underway. As far as I remember, the match was pretty normal. Kane would get in a few hits, Mankind would get a few, and they both hit their finishers sometime during the match. I, myself, felt pretty successful. I had found a lost WWF event. Still, why would Mr. McMahon remove all traces of this from the promotion's history? I was about to find out. Kane had been getting a ton of momentum. and he grabbed Mankind in the chokehold. Knowing full well what was coming next, I smiled like I was 10 years old all over again. The big red monster lifted Mankind up and tossed him into the flames. The bell rang, signaling Kane had won the match. Then the screaming began. Horrible, agonizing, ear-raping screaming that can only be described as a banshee's wail in reverse. The camera panned over to Mankind, and what I saw was terrifying. Now, before I explain this scene, I'm rather immune to gore and disturbing imagery. I'm a dedicated X-File, and I've written a few creepypastas. But this was just above all of that. Mankind was on fire. Standard end to an Inferno match, right? That's how you win, after all. This was different. You could clearly see his skin melting off, showing muscle and even bone in some spots. His hair was singed. The lights in the arena turned off, but the flames still burned bright. And this went on, and on, and on. Finally, Jim Ross ran over with a fire extinguisher and sprayed Mankind. His charred body laid there, not moving an inch. Paramedics arrived and took him out of the arena. The television cut to black and took me back to the main menu. Now, being a wrestling connoisseur, I had knowledge of what was legit and what was kayfabe. This was legit. There was no way, especially in 1999, that such a horrendous burning could be faked like that on live television. Fuck, I don't even think that's possible now. I couldn't get the image of Mankind out of my brain. I hopped over to my computer and made a thread about it on the Woo Reddit, as quick as I could. Only one person knew what I was talking about. He said that Mankind wasn't originally Mick Foley. The character was portrayed by another unknown wrestler who died after the Inferno match. The pay-per-view was never aired or referred to again, and Mick Foley was brought in to replace Mankind's original wrestler. Foley, however, had always been Cactus Jack and Dude Love. Mankind was called the third face of Foley because of the other wrestler's striking resemblance to Mick. The next morning, I went over to the wrestling store to ask the manager about the DVD. Surprisingly, the place was open on Memorial Day. The manager said he found the DVD on the black market and thought it would be perfect for collectors. I haven't touched that disc since. Well then. I never thought I'd be reading a WWE creepypasta. Oh man, so right away I could easily break down this creepypasta, so let's do that. I do like the fact that the author does mention that the last In Your House WWF pay-per-view they had was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, which was February 14th, 1999. But Backlash originally had some advertising related to In Your House. So originally they were still going to call it Backlash In Your House, but they changed it last minute. So you could say technically the first WWE pay-per-view non-In Your House is another controversial one, Over the Edge. You could say that. And speaking of Over the Edge, I think the main inspiration for this creepypasta, if I believe, is the incident that happened to Owen Hart, who tragically died after falling from his harness 80 feet to his death in the ring. That incident took place 25 years ago. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was one of the inspirations for this creepypasta. But I feel like this is what WWE should have done after Owen Hart died. End the show. Just end the show. Don't let the show go on. Just stop there and that's it. But no, that's not what they do. Armageddon, the first Armageddon pay-per-view was in December 1999. That was the same pay-per-view where Triple H and Stephanie McMahon aligned to form the McMahon-Helmsley, regime. So that's the first WWE Armageddon pay-per-view at the time, or WWF. The reason why I still call it WWE, despite the fact that it used to be called WWF, is because I'm more used to calling it that. I do know the World Wildlife Fund sued WWE because they both had the same initials, and the agreement was that the World Wrestling Federation would not constantly say WWF. They would just keep referring to themselves as the World Wrestling Federation. But obviously WWE did not listen to that, and they continued to do that. Apparently the name change would only affected them only in the United States, but not in the UK. I'm assuming they decided not to have one name in one country and the other name in the other country, so they just decided to full on just change their name to WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. Yeah, I believe Over the Edge was one of the inspirations for this creepypasta, the whole incident with Owen Hart and everything, and also the whole lost media of pro wrestling with WWE. Obviously, for a while, the Over the Edge pay-per-view was kind of lost media until the network. And then the infamous match between Droz and D'Lo Brown, where Droz ended up getting paralyzed after a botched powerbomb attempt by D'Lo Brown. He landed on his head, completely breaking his neck, leaving him a quadriplegic. And unfortunately, Droz did pass away last year. I was surprised he lived for that long. God bless him, though. He did, regain movement in some of his limbs, but he was still, bound to a wheelchair. And he even said to D'Lo, "Don't blame yourself." So I'm pretty sure the whole inspiration for this creepypasta was the whole lost media with, some lost pay-per-views like the Over the Edge, and then obviously, the infamous match between Droz and D'Lo Brown that never aired. Ironically enough, that match took place at the Nassau Coliseum. So that happened here in New York, where I live, which is crazy. But technically, that wasn't the last time WWE actually used the In Your House name. They actually brought it back in 2020 for NXT. Back when the pandemic was going on, I guess WWE was like, let's try this, just to do something. So they brought back the In Your House name for NXT. I think they did 3 events from 2020 to 2022. And after that, they decided, alright, that's enough. Let's just keep it in the past now. But it was kind of nice they did that. But anyways, my overall thoughts on this creepypasta, I thought it was decent. I thought it was kind of a cool what-if scenario with, what if WWE had a pay-per-view that never aired? Like, the fact that this all of a sudden just magically showed up in a DVD collection? Okay. Technically there's 27 shows. Even though Backlash that year was supposed to be, I guess you could say, the final In Your House. But then they made it the same Valentine's Day Massacre. But I will give this story a 7 out of 10 because there are just obvious things that hit me in the face right away. No pun intended. The fact that Mankind was played by somebody else. Obviously, Mankind was always Mick Foley. Mankind was Mick Foley's, debut in WWE. He was Cactus Jack in ECW and other promotions prior to this. And then when he came to WWE, he became Mankind. And then eventually Do Love. And then he brought Cactus Jack over. So the 3 faces of Foley even appeared in one Royal Rumble match. That's really the only inconsistency issue that hits me. I'm like, Mick Foley was always Mankind. Here's another thing. If Mick Foley was not Mankind, then who won the WWE Championship in January 1999? Technically in December 98. I get it because it was taped. That was Mick Foley. Even his mask was off when he was celebrating with DX. Even Stone Cold came out to help out Mick Foley to win the title that night. So obviously Mick Foley was always Mankind. But overall, I did enjoy the story. I thought it was kind of a cool what-if scenario. Definitely not a great story. But I thought it was a decent story. I just wanted to read it because since I am a huge pro wrestling fan, this is right up my alley. So I thought this would be a cool thing to do. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed today's creepypasta reading. I don't know if there's any other great WWE related creepypastas out there. Like, this was the only one that I remember coming across, and it just stuck with me when I first read it. So I don't know if there's any other ones that are actually good. I don't even know if you could even make a good WWE creepypasta. Like, I have no idea. Maybe this could be a creepypasta about the brawl out. Somehow somebody gets the footage of the brawl out with CM Punk and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Ace Steel and Larry the Dog. Oh, that would be really, really funny. But I think the next creepypasta I will read will be Mr. Widemouth. So be on the lookout for that. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's creepypasta. Overall, give this story a 7 out of 10. It's a decent story, even though the wrestling encyclopedia in me keeps saying, no, that's not true, that's not true. Like, just that kind of thing. Like, it just kept hitting me. And I'm like, well, I understand it's a fictional story. That's what these creepypastas are. They're essentially internet horror stories that you would tell around a campfire. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's creepypasta. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Also, check out my creepypasta playlist. I just hit 40 episodes. So go check out some of my other creepypastas if you're interested. So if you like what you saw here, hit the like button, subscribe, share this video with your friends. Be sure to ring that bell to be part of the notification squad. Be sure to check out my Instagram because I make collabs with Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, even myself. I used to act as cosplays on there, so go check it out, and be sure to check out my Tumblr and my Discord in the description as well. So until next time, JRDL96 signing out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!